I'm standing here with my new arch trellis. I'm going to show you guys how I made this and how you can make an arch trellis if you don't have access to cattle panels in your area. Instead of cattle panels, I use welded wire fence as well as some flexible PVC pipe and normal T-posts. I secured the fence to these T-posts. I pounded the T-posts into the ground with a rented post pounder. If you're in a city, that's a great alternative to buying a post pounder because you don't use them obviously very often. It cost me $20 for the day to use it. So I've secured the wire to the T-post with zip ties, and I've pulled it very tight and used the zip tie to create tension in the wire, and pulled it kind of like if I were to grab it like this, and then zip tie this with tension to the T-post so that it's quite secure. And this wire is 14 gauge, and there's 4-inch spaces, which I believe is the same as a cattle panel. So I've secured, so my arch is 5 feet wide, so the distance between each side is 5 feet, and it's about 7 or 8 feet tall. The problem with using welded wire fence instead of a cattle panel is cattle panels come flat and then they create their own tension and their own support when you bend them over. But because welded wire fence comes in a roll, it's already being bent into a circle shape, and it's very weak, and it can't support its own weight when it's in an arch. So my partner and I bent it over into an arch, and then the middle totally collapsed. I wanted to try it out and see if that was going to happen, and I was pretty disappointed when it did happen, but it's fixable. I also had a really hard time finding flexible PVC pipe in Canada. I don't know why that is, but on the Home Depot US website there's tons of flexible PVC piping, and on the Canadian website there's hardly anything. So I went to the Home Depot today and found a really helpful person there, and what I ended up with, I will put the link to it in the description, but it's a really small diameter PVC pipe. It's about 1/2 inch, and then it's very flexible. So I used that to create a sort of support for the roof. And I'll link it down below so that if you're in Canada you can find it. So I bent the PVC from one end of the T-post. I secured it just right up against the T-post like this. It fits really snugly into this into the groove of the T-post, and then secured it with zip ties, and then bent it over to the other side. Now it's a bit of trial and error to get it perfectly. You can see they're not perfectly centered, and there's my beautiful little hummingbird. They're not perfectly centered, mostly I think because this is on a bit of a slope. So I was using the notches on the T-post to measure how far the pipe would go down the T-post, so I was counting notches, but the problem is that because the ground is a little bit sloped, these T-posts are a little higher than these T-posts. So what you can do though, if you have it zip tied, is you can kind of slide it up and down. It's pretty tightly in there, but with some pressure you can slide the pipe up or down, and then that can help you get the arch centered. So I'll probably play around with that a little bit, but I did want to show you guys after setting it up. So I have the pipes attached at 2 places, at the very bottom and then at the very top. This one's a little bit coming away. I'm still figuring it out, kind of eyeballing it and figuring out what works best. And then I've attached the fencing to the PVC pipe there, just with zip ties as well. And it's working out great, so I'm really excited. It was really stressful trying to figure out how to make this, and really frustrating because it's so easy with cattle panels, and cattle panels in Canada cost about $70, and that's if you can even find them. So I was thinking about driving down all the way to Bellingham to pick one up, and then I realized I couldn't fit a 16-foot cattle panel in my little Toyota Matrix over there. Toyota Matrixes are great for most things, but not 16 feet long. So yeah, so this is a great alternative. I'll put all the materials in the description, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll try and help you troubleshoot it. I am not a carpenter by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a gardener figuring things out as I go along. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
So here Coral is being very efficient as she marks all of her T-posts. And we already managed to drive in 3. Probably the most fun part of this particular endeavor is how tall the T-posts are, because they're 7 feet, which is considerably taller than either Coral or me. Which you can tell by how short she looks compared to the ladder.